Our adventure began at Oliver Tambo Airport, Johannesburg. We flew to Buenos Aires and onward by charter to Ushuaia, the southernmost town in Argentina.
Well, welcome to Ushuaia. Welcome to the end of the war or the beginning of everything. Well, we are on an island here. The name of this island is Tierra del Fuego, Fireland.
We had a traditional lunch of lamb, cooked Argentinian style. Then a bit of retail therapy, a beer at the Irish pub, and onward to Prince Albert 2. After completing formalities, it appeared that in almost no time we were making our way down the Beagle Channel towards the open seas and the Falklands. These are views from the observation lounge. Some early morning albatrosses. The ship's expedition team included Will, an ornithologist, Peter, a historian, Stefan, a geologist, Kara, a biologist, Peter, a biologist and botanist, Melinda, the photographer, Juan Bennett, an ornithologist, Juan Carlos, a geologist, Yelda, assistant expedition leader, and Robin, the expedition leader. Our first stop in the Falklands was West Point Island. We visited a black-browed albatross breeding colony. Notice how the parents build chimneys in which they lay the egg and in which the chick hatches and lives until it's able to fly and make its way on its own. This is also a rockhopper colony, and you'll notice a few of them here with black-browed albatross chicks. Our biologist Peter informed me that this is wild celery. This is also a working sheep farm, and we had tea and cookies at the farm homestead with the caracas. Then it was back to Prince Albert 2, and we made our way to Saunders Island, a gentoo and king penguin colony. This was our first sighting of king penguins. It was a small colony, and larger colonies were to come. Our next stop was Stanley, the capital of the Falklands. We were given a tour of Stanley.
Good morning, my name's Richard. I'm your guide for around Stanley today. Your driver's Andy.
At the memorial to the Falklands War, one of the group laid a wreath for a man from Bermuda who lost his life in that war. This old music box was in the Stanley Museum. Reindeers were imported from the northern hemisphere for their meat. Most of the Falklands income comes from fishing licenses, and ships like this, the Lady Elizabeth, are used for storage purposes until they eventually sink. And then we were on our way to South Georgia. There's an abundance of squid in the area, and this is a squid fishing vessel. One of our big cousins was visiting the port, and we said hello, as ships do.
All right, yeah.
On our way to South Georgia.
What we didn't know is that we were about to experience the Southern Oceans at almost their best. These are views from the bridge and the cabin.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Charlie and his wife played gin rummy in the Panorama Lounge almost every day before lunch, and we enjoyed our becks. Whale spotting in the dining room. And then the weather cleared, and we spotted our first icebergs on the way to South Georgia.
Ladies and gentlemen, for those of you that are up and about, we do have the sun out. We of course have also a magnificent iceberg, a very large iceberg on our starboard bow, out at about 1 o'clock.
We reached South Georgia at around midday, and the expedition team went out to look for a landing site for a visit to Silversea Plain. The Silversea Plain is one of the largest breeding grounds for king penguins, with an estimated number of 100,000 breeding pairs, plus all the juveniles. There are also large colonies of fur seals and elephant seals. The elephant seals breed here in the early summer. Stefan advised us that one of the best ways to view king penguins is to find a spot, sit down and relax and enjoy, and take your photographs. We did that. Join me now in king penguin heaven. away for Michael to celebrate his birthday. Our next landing was at Fortuna Bay. As a result of the nuclear fallout from Chernobyl, the reindeer in South Georgia are the most genetically pure in the world. This raises some interesting questions. Should they be culled? Should they be used as breeding stock? Or should they be captured and returned to the Northern Hemisphere? In any event, the reindeer, seals and penguins coexist happily in South Georgia. Fortuna Bay also has a large king penguin colony. We had another opportunity to observe the king penguins and their brown fuzzy chicks, who are now just beginning to molt to their adult plumage. King penguins have an 18-month breeding cycle, which is unique amongst all penguin groups. A group of hikers walked from Fortuna Bay to Stromness Bay. This hike replicated the last portion of Shackleton's epic journey across the mountainous South Georgia to seek rescue for his 3-person crew trapped both on the western shore of the island as well as 22 others who were living under overturned lifeboats on Elephant Island over 1,350 kilometers to the southwest. Our trip to Stromness Bay was a lot more relaxed on the Prince Albert II. Our next stop was Stromness, an abandoned whaling station.
On the beach, take a walk around, take your time, get to meet your new friends, or you're more than welcome to join me. They have the pinnae, or the ears, and they are known as odorids, or eared seals.
On our walk to the cemetery, we saw some reindeer and a large pod of elephant seals.
To pull up with winches and heavy equipment. We try to go above them if possible on other landing sites out there. What I find is that they've done a fair amount of studies, and the leucistic fur seals have no impact, and that meant that obviously it had bred with a non-leucistic gensu.
Just having a little regroup before the next stop. Our next stop was Godthal. This area is rich in fur seals and gentoo penguins. I walked up the river a bit to get some pictures of the fur seals at eye level. The fur seals are lying on tussock grass, which is quite plentiful in South Georgia. Tussock grass can grow to a height of about 2 meters.
This is a leucistic fur seal, is it?
Yeah.
Leucistic fur seals appear to be like white lions. They are exactly the same as other seals in all aspects except for their color. And here we have a lone little chin strap. Penguins and other birds that drink seawater have a gland that expels the salt through an outlet above the nostril. He appeared to be enjoying himself amongst his Gentoo friends. We were then taken on a zodiac ride around Gothel Bay and saw, amongst other things, a large pod of elephant seals.
Yes.
Yeah, Cameron.
Must be lovely having his father on board.
It's nice. We should try to explain, but no one really understands what to do. Female turtles nest individually in 50 years later.
And then we returned to the Prince Albert II and the Zodiac landing bay. It was a lovely calm morning, so there were no problems. The Zodiacs were hoisted up onto the ship, and then it was time to leave for our next destination. Disembarking was always a bit of a mission, with many layers of clothing, parka and life jacket, and finally your boots from the mudroom. Our next destination was Grytviken and Sir Ernest Shackleton's final resting place. Peter paid a tribute to Sir Ernest.
Welcome again to South Georgia Island to honor not just the memories of everyone buried and remembered in this cemetery and on the hillside, but in particular the individual whose grave rests to my left, Sir Ernest Henry Shackleton. He brought back in that time frame when it was quite unusual to do so, every man entrusted to his care. His best epitaph was written in 1922, the same era and year that he died, by a gentleman by the name of Apsley Cherry Gerard. For a scientific and geographical piece of work, give me Scott. For a winter journey, give me Wilson. For a quick dash to the pole and nothing else, give me Amundsen. But when we are in a devil of a hole and want to get out, give me Shackleton every time. And to his memory, I offer a toast to Sir Ernest Henry Shackleton. I would encourage you to drink almost all of your champagne in remembrance of Sir Ernest, and save just a little to pour on his gravesite, because I believe that after all these years, an Irishman such as Sir Ernest, he would enjoy the extra taste. And I thank Jerry Crockett. Scott was a little further. But then
Grytviken was quite a large whaling station, and there are still a number of whaling ships slowly corroding on the shore. The rate of corrosion is particularly slow as a result of the very cold temperatures in this region.
Very pretty.
Grytviken is now a British scientific base and houses approximately 30 people. It also has a post office, which has to be the most southerly post office in the world. And my postcard even made it to Gauteng, South Africa. This is a memorial to Shackleton from his comrades.
And in the lobby is a bit longer.
And after these beautiful views of Grytviken and the base, we return to our ship after a truly remarkable day. Our final stop in South Georgia was Gold Harbour with these magnificent glaciers.
Here is a large glacier below us in sight. The sky was blue a little while ago. It seems to have clouded over again. There's blue in the rocks, in the ice. Wind is building up a bit. Here is the sun. Could not ask for anything better.
This elephant seal decided to take up residence on the expedition team's equipment.
Now, you have both a northern elephant seal and a southern. They're roughly the southern is slightly larger. I know that you're all going to capture this photograph as being attacked by elephant seals, but we all know that there's a series in the morning. And I haven't seen them on the beach. You may be out feeding them, but I haven't seen them.
This is the snowy sheathbill, a scavenger of the beach which eats anything and everything. A brown skua on the hunt for eggs or small chicks. These two were going through the mating ritual. Why on top of a rock, I just don't know.
We are just leaving Gold Harbour. So heave-ho to the Antarctic Elephant Island. Empty shelves means rough seas.
We had been warned that the weather was likely to be bad. Inside and outside.
We are on our way from South Georgia to the Antarctic Peninsula, and the weather is quite bad.
The journey of 2 days to the Antarctic turned into 4 days of very, very bad seas and bad weather. At one stage there was talk of abandoning the trip entirely. What this meant, however, was that we only spent 1 day on the Antarctic Peninsula. This is a sample of what we went through. I visited the bridge and spoke to the captain, who told me all about the stabilizers and how they work.
How's it work? How big? They are 2.5 meters. Not very big. Without them it would be disaster. You're right, disaster. Disaster would be close to the right word.
Airspeed still has.
Were taken from the observation lounge on the 6th deck of the ship.
Beers.
Your bags, Mr. Ian.
Oh, thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers.
And then, as if by magic, the weather cleared, the skies cleared, and the seas became calm. We were now approaching the Antarctic Peninsula. And the sighting of the first tabular icebergs. And now we were in the Antarctic Sound.
Seal on the ice!
See it on the ice? There's another one way over there too. Look at the blue. Wow. Look at that. Golly. Oh, cool. It does help, doesn't it? Yeah, no. Okay, there's the top. Where? Right there.
Oh,
you
my
see
God.
the rock. There it is. There is Antarctica. gosh, look at that little gun stuck up
There's a rock on the ice up there. A brown rock. What kind of rock? I think it's a granite. Oh, of course.
There was a large amount of pack ice around. The pack ice will envelop this whole area by the middle of winter. There were also large ice floes. So ended a few hours of my life which were truly unforgettable. The majesty of the Antarctic is difficult to explain. The silence, the whiteness. This is a world at peace with itself. Was it worth the journey? What a question. Would that it would go on forever. Our next stop was Base Esperanza. This is now an Argentinian military base. It was here that 110 years ago, 3 men from the Northern Scout expedition had to overwinter, unplanned. And that is how Esperanza got its name. In Spanish, Esperanza means hope. There are 56 people at the base, and of this number, 14 are children. After tea and a bit of retail therapy, it was back to the Prince Albert 2, another snowy sheath bill. We had a 6 a.m. start this morning to visit the chinstrap colony at Bailey Head. It is estimated that here there are also approximately 100,000 breeding pairs of chinstraps. Ish, but it's gold. Oh my goodness, a tsunami wave. Hey, let's get out of here.
Just entering the Bellows of Neptune's Bellows here as we enter into Deception Island. We also have the sailing vessel, the bark Europa, immediately ahead of us, also sailing into Deception Island.
The weather was fine, but very overcast and misty and quite dark, with a bit of a wind. Deception Island is an active volcano, and as a result of erosion, a breach on the side of the caldera allows ships to enter and navigate Port Foster. A few brave souls took the opportunity to go for a refreshing, to say the least, polar plunge. Then we slowly made our way out of the caldera through Neptune's Bellows to the last and final stop on the Antarctic Peninsula. We landed at Hannah Point on Livingston Island. Here we saw a large chinstrap colony and 3 or 4 macaronis, a great surprise. There was a large pod of elephant seals at Hannah Point. Unfortunately, the lighting was extremely bad and it was difficult to get some really good shots of the elephant seals. then it was back to the Prince Albert II for the last 2 days of our Antarctic adventure. What awaited us was the dreaded Drake Passage, but we had nothing to fear. It was like a millpond. You would think we would have learned the art of the zodiac after 17 days.
There you go.
So what are you giving us tonight?
Ricky Special.
The man who complains when you can't find your car.
And our trusty cabin attendant, Edgardo Santos.
This is the last day of our trip. We're on our way to Ushuaia.
The expedition team leader, Robin West's final briefing session.
On behalf of you for making my life so easy and making this trip possible. So thank you very much. I hope that we met all your expectations and that Antarctica, very much like each and every single one of us in the expedition team, becomes a very special place in your heart, and that one day we maybe see you back on board Prince Albert II. So from all of us, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
All of us, all the guests and all the staff, a big thank you to our fearless leader, Robin. Especially that last day, getting us up at 5 o'clock in the morning. Thank you.
On entering the Beagle Channel, a beautiful rainbow awaited us. And then expedition leader Robin West's final comments and Captain Alexander Golubev's farewell cocktail party.
It's quite amazing to look back and see what we have accomplished and how privileged we are to explore these parts of the world.
Tomorrow, our as he called himself, geologist Stefan is going on vacation. So, ladies and gentlemen, tomorrow we start our next trip to Antarctica and South Georgia and Falklands. So when you fly back home and you are at home, just think of us and wish us good weather. So on behalf of Silversea Cruises and our entire crew and officer, I wish you good health and be happy as you are. Thank you.
We'll miss you soon, and get back up.
Oh, well done.
Thank
After dinner we went out on deck to look at the night lights of Ushuaia. And the following morning this beautiful sunrise awaited us. Our trip to the Antarctic was over. Boarded our charter flight to Buenos Aires. Spent 1.5 days in Buenos Aires and then made our way back to Johannesburg. I repeat Robin West's statement. Yes,